And I kind of joked. Everybody thinks it's really cute. We all hold hands and stuff. Holding hands is kind of like a requirement for me,
It
for
is.
somebody that I'm with, or that I'm.
Ever since Jay and I got together, we've held hands.
It means a lot to me, and it feels right. And whenever I'm walking around with either of my partners and we're not holding hands, it's kind of like,
Awkward.
yeah.
What's wrong? Something's wrong. What's bothering? What's
And
on your
I
mind?
know that sounds weird, but it just is my thing. We all have our things.
I have several things.
So, like, that's with the physical touch. As I mentioned before, with physical touch, just being in that person's presence. Like, for me, having a long distance relationship would be nearly impossible.
It'd be difficult for me too.
I couldn't, because having them physically present is one of the most important things to me. And even if it's, whenever.
For me, it'd be difficult because I like spending quality time with somebody. So and I don't think I've ever had a long distance relationship with anybody. No, I never have. So, but it's one of those things that if I did, I would have to travel to them fairly regularly to
Yeah.
be able to spend time with them. Even, I guess talking to them and, do video chats and stuff like that, but it's the actual being in their presence, feeling their energy, feeling their, being in their space next to them is it's really important to me.
Yeah. That's why I think quality time and physical touch kind of blur into each other.
They can. I had a long distance relationship when I was younger. It did work out for quite a while the way it does, but that was long before this book was ever published and that sort of thing. One thing, I guess, where I was drawing my love languages off of with the quality time and physical touch was letters. Like, these are actual snail mail letters. This is how old I am.
Were they written on a typewriter? Telegraph?
No, handwritten.
Morse code?
Handwritten on lined paper. This was how this went.
Was it in cursive?
Yes.
Whoa.
I am that old. I am that age.
Wow.
Yes. All right.
Stone tablet?
No, just yeah. Anyway, but holding the letter and spending time reading it was almost like quality time. The physical touch had to kind of happen in my head, so to speak. Like, don't take that too weird. But it's
We
just,
all took it weird.
Yeah, too late.
yeah, too
Not
late.
weird, just,
Well, there was that too. But you can still make it happen. But unfortunately, looking back, I can say that it wasn't a healthy position for me because most of the emotional deposits the other party was making were happening kind of more in my head than in reality.
Or in a sock.
Wow, Zan. Wow.
Okay. So, the point I was trying to make was, as you're navigating relationships, it's okay to advocate for your own needs and not think you're silly because, oh, they haven't touched me for a long time, they must not care for me. It's okay to advocate for your own needs, and when they're not being met, to address the issue. Don't just cut them off, like say in your own head, and have no contact with them whatsoever and say, well, they haven't hit every number of mine, so I'm drawing a line right here and now we're done, without ever reaching out to them and saying, hey. Communicating. Take a sip.
No, we're just doing coffee today.
We're just doing coffee. No, and that's what
it's too early in the day to not.
Yeah. You listeners at home should also do that. We're not advocating with our little game of take a shot. We're not advocating any sort of alcoholism if you have a problem or if you know somebody who does or have any kind of liquid, and just take a sip or a shot or whatever and just have fun with this. Caffeine is good.
Yes.
Caffeine is a very legal drug.
Mm-hmm. Without caffeine, you wouldn't have this podcast.
So then we go on to acts of service, and a lot of people argue, can doing the dishes really indicate that you love somebody?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it can, especially to somebody who speaks in that language, because one of the biggest things that a person who likes to be shown
that they matter.
That they matter, who want to receive that in the acts of service language, want you to be able to step in. It shows that you care, that you're paying attention, that you see the burdens that are laying on this person's shoulders, and you are willing to do what it takes to help lessen that burden and do it with them.
Like today, we had to bring one of our daughters to rehearsals. And what it is, like, Jay had a rough night, barely got any sleep, and she's been on the road all day, all week. I couldn't even tell you how many miles she put on her vehicle this week.
Me either.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, but the thing is like I was barely awake myself. I'm still barely awake, which is about nap 30 once this podcast's over. But what I did was, I know that she's been on the road a lot. I know that, she's been super busy. So what I did was like, you know what, let me take her. You take a break for a second that you can take it, and I'll take her to rehearsal. So it's one of those things where, like, if they hear active service, that's, well, one of our hearing love languages is acts of service, then do what you can to help them out. I mean,
and I really do. That speaks volumes to me. And then
when she lets us.
On the opposite end of that, well, yeah, I mean, I carry a lot, and when I do need somebody to step in, it means even more to me that, hey, like, okay, they have my back on this.
Mm-hmm.
On the opposite end of that, though, when you really want to make a person who hears the acts of service language feel like you could care less, laziness, broken commitments, and making more work for them is something that's going to just completely break them down.
So wait, how are you still married to me?
She's patient.
Yeah. I woke up, I was not in a good mood at all. I was angry because the cat was meowing in the bedroom, and I had a rough night. And anyway, you recognize that, and you took initiative, and you saw me, and you did the things that were like, okay, yeah, I see you're struggling. I will help you. Let's do this. I can do this.
There are some nuances to navigate just in that, because now that you bring that up, that reminds me. If you have a partner who hears acts of service, one good thing that you can do just to don't ask.
Yeah.
Don't ask what they need. Don't ask what, if you would hey, would you like me to do the dishes for you? Because that's like, it kind of ruins the moment, so to speak. It kind of ruins that. Now they feel like they have to ask for the thing that they accept as a loving act.
Well, I'm kind of complicated in that way too. I speak acts of service, and I also hear strongly acts of service. So I'm kind of complicated in the way that I speak acts of service very heavily. I do a lot. I take on a lot, like I said, but it's something that I feel like I can contribute. And I'm like, but I also hear very loudly acts of service, and it means a great deal to me. So when someone presents me with the question, do you want me to do the dishes? That sets off like all kinds of bells and whistles in my entire being. And I'm like, I really could use them doing the dishes right now, but I can't because I have to, I'm trying, this is how so if you just freaking do the dishes, and I will have a twinge of guilt. Yes, I will. But I will be like, oh, okay, they're doing, and I will, it's, yeah.
Conversely, if somebody walked up and said, would you like a back rub, that doesn't take away from the moment of that.
You see,
so
when it comes to me, like with Jay, like I'll ask, hey, you want me to do the dishes for you? Because I don't want to step on her toes or anything like that. But at the same time, it's like when she tells me, no, I got it, I'm like, okay, see you.
Yeah, and then he just walks away, which is my own thing that I have to work on. That's my thing. We're working on that, because I have to really realize, and that's something that a lot of people struggle with too, advocating for what you really want versus, so like maybe I really did want him to help me with this, but then a million things go on in my head. Oh, well, he's busy doing this. Oh, he hasn't got to rest. Oh, I know he would rather do this. And so then I'm like, no, don't. But I'm like, yes, please do this thing, screaming internally. And then so when he walks away, I get pissed off.
Right.
And that's not fair to him.
What happens is I listen and walk away.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, that's a different kind of issue. That's not just like learn to communicate.
Yeah.
Learn to, take your sip. Learn to communicate. Learn to be honest. That's that 100% transparency thing right there. Like, and being honest and real with your limitations and boundaries. But yeah, that's a thing.
So with acts of service, it's often better just to show up and do.
Yeah.
Instead of asking about it. Just like, well, think about this. It would be more obvious when it's words of affirmation. if words of affirmation are your love language, how comfortable would you feel if somebody just walked up and said, "Would you like a compliment today?"
Tell me I'm pretty.
I mean, how hollow does that sound?
Right. Would you like me to tell you that you're pretty today?
Yeah.
What? No, actually, I'd like you to back the fuck off because you just creeped me out. Like that's
So acts of service can be kind of in that same feel of like, if you have to ask first, then no.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I said, at the same time, it's like if I ask because I don't want to step on toes.
I don't know. There have been a lot of times you really have just stepped in and been like, okay, tell me what I can do. And that's different. You
Right.
know, like tell me what I can do means that you're emotionally, physically available. And when people come at me and they ask if they can do something or if whatever, I feel that intention and I feel that, like, do they really want to do this? And when the answer is a resounding no, then I'm going to be like, no, I have it. Just go. Because I would rather someone do it with a genuine willingness and want to do the task than to just do it begrudgingly and then,
Out of obligation.
out of obligation. And so I would just rather not deal with the emotional tax that comes along with that in my body and just do it myself. Let's see. Moving on to quality time.
Ooh, my favorite.
Yep. Quality time, it doesn't mean that it's spending every waking minute with somebody, but giving someone your full undivided attention can speak volumes. It can mean everything to a person who values quality time.
And that is absolutely the truth for me. Like if I am working on something and somebody just comes sit with me, even if they're not helping me, it's quality time. Riding, like in a car, one of my favorite things to do. And it's kind of like Jay and I, when we first started dating, we would just ride around in a car, listen to music, just talking to each other, touching, like holding each other's hands. And that was for me, that was like amazing. That's what I love. You know, it's really nice whenever you get to ride on like a motorcycle and they have their arms around you and like
Nothing else but the two of you,
Yeah,
or
just-
however many of you.
yeah, on a motorcycle, just two, because otherwise it gets a little ridiculous.
Right.
Well, it depends on which country you live in.
That,
Right.
that is true. That is true.
Because everybody knows that it can fit more people on a motorcycle.
And the couch, and though a lot of people would differ on that, because for people who value quality time, it's that one-on-one feeling of them being having your undivided attention. That means the TV off, the phone down, the chores on standby, that kind of thing.
And that's completely different for me. Like quality time, we can go to a movie and not talk the whole time. And to me, that is quality time. We're enjoying something together.
Right.
Going to a concert together. I mean, you're not going to be able to have a full-fledged conversation, even though I have seen people do that, and I really just wanted to start a mosh pit with those people. I don't care what kind of music it was. Oh, look, it's the symphony. They're talking through it. I'm starting a mosh pit. That kind of thing.
Starting with them, and they won't be aware at first that they're in the mosh pit.
Exactly. And probably after. But the thing is that for me, quality time is not having somebody's undivided attention. It's having the presence of that person, them showing that they care about what you're doing,
Right.
or showing that, or showing some kind of interest in what you're doing. Because I have a lot of hobbies, maybe like 1 or 15 or 30,
Yeah.
something like that.
No.
And so honestly, I'm really not going to deny that, because
Yeah.
I'm like scattered most of the time. But somebody taking interest in a hobby that I have, just to, not the fact that they want to do it, but just the fact that, oh, that looks cool. Oh, this, oh, that, something that they actually show an interest in what I'm doing.
But again, they're giving you your undivided attention in a way that they are trying to also understand and participate in what you're doing.
Right. But just having them there is quality time to me.
Right. But they're also engaging.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
engaging
definitely.
is part of quality time.
Right.
You're engaging with that other person to show them that you're paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's,
go ahead.
Crow and I will go out grocery shopping. And yes, it's a chore and it's an errand. When you have multiple partners and spouses, and even if you don't, like I said, life is busy, you have to try to find and squeeze in the things that you can when you can. So maybe we've gone a couple weeks before going date night. Well, we're taking our grocery shopping time and spending that as quality time together.
Right. And that's one of the things where don't panic if you're in a poly relationship with a super busy life and your love language is quality time. Don't sit there and think, oh no. It's, I can't have this because now I have to make sure these blocks of time are scheduled in. Your partner's like that. No, because if you, many forms of quality time, love language, you can turn everything